Navigating unemployment claims can feel like trying to learn a foreign language while blindfolded, right? It's incredibly confusing. But hey, if you're in Illinois, this guide is going to make sure you can reopen your claim with absolute ease. We're here to empower you with the exact knowledge you need to take control of the whole process. Welcome to this explainer.
So picture this. You experience a job loss, you manage to hustle and find new work, and then, through absolutely no fault of your own, you find yourself separated from employment a second time. It's a deeply stressful scenario. Dealing with a subsequent job loss is emotionally taxing enough without the absolute dread of fighting through state bureaucracy all over again. Well, today we're focusing on the specific administrative solution to this exact problem. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. 1. Understanding your additional claim. 2. Gathering your required documents. 3. Step-by-step reopening process. 4. Next steps after you file. 5. Avoiding mistakes and troubleshooting. And finally, 6. Essential resources and disclaimer. All right, Section 1. Understanding your additional claim. The mechanism you are actually looking for here is called an additional claim. Under Illinois law, if you previously filed for unemployment, got back to work, and stopped receiving benefits, or maybe you just earned wages in a given week that exceeded your weekly benefit amount, your claim basically went inactive. Filing an additional claim is your legal pathway to reapply for those benefits and reestablish your eligibility right inside an already active benefit year. Now, to be absolutely clear, let's make a really sharp distinction here, because this solves a huge point of confusion. An initial claim is your baseline application. That's the big one that calculates your benefits and kicks off a strict 52-week calendar clock. You are literally legally barred from filing a brand new initial claim while that 52-week window is still open. Instead, an additional claim simply reactivates that existing 52-week file. You aren't starting from scratch, you're just picking up right where you left off. Moving right along to Section 2, gathering your required documents. Now, what's really interesting about this step is that when you file online, the system actually uses the physical weight listed on your state ID for identity proofing. Crazy, right? So definitely make sure you have it handy. You're also going to need your social security number, plus the dates and separation reasons for every single employer you've had in the last 18 months. For our veterans out there, ensure you have your DD Form 214 or 215, specifically the Member 4 copy if you can. And for federal civilian workers, you absolutely must have your Standard Form 8 and Personnel Action Form 50 ready to go so they can assign your wages properly. All right, Section 3, step-by-step reopening process. The absolute quickest way to handle this is through the secure digital self-service channel. Step 1, just log into your IDES iLogin account. Once you're in, Step 2 is to select File My Unemployment Claim right from the individual home menu. Now for Step 3, the system's going to ask you to update the details regarding your most recent employer. This means providing the exact last day you worked and the specific reason you left. Finally, Step 4, just submit your claim. Updating this specific info is exactly what legally reestablishes your monetary eligibility. But hey, what if you don't have reliable internet access? No worries, IDES offers a really solid alternative. While the digital iLogin portal gives you a complete visual overview of your claim, the automated teleserve phone system is there for you by dialing 312-338-4337. On teleserve, you literally just press 2 from the main menu, punch in your social security number and PIN, and provide those exact same last employer details to reactivate your claim right over the phone. Now, if you do use the online portal, you really need to be aware of the number 60. The iLogin framework has a super strict 60-minute security lockout window if you happen to enter incorrect credentials. But listen, if you get locked out, do not panic. You can just use the unlock account link to trigger a verification code. This code will get sent to you via SMS text, a voice call, or email, allowing you to reset your access without losing a whole hour of your day. Which brings us to Section 4, next steps after you file.
Okay, here is a massive point of confusion you definitely want to avoid. Reopening your claim is just a one-time administrative event, but once that claim is open again, you must immediately resume your routine biweekly certification. Certification is that recurring process where you answer basic questions every 2 weeks to confirm you are still unemployed, actively looking for work, and available to accept a job. Do not forget to certify on your assigned day, or your newly reopened claim is going to go right back to inactive.
Aside from certifying, here are your crucial post-filing requirements. First up, you have to ensure your registration on IllinoisJobLink.com is active and that your resume is uploaded. Second, here's some actually good news for once. Because you're filing an additional claim within an active benefit year, you don't have to serve a second unpaid waiting week. You already took care of that when you opened the initial claim. Finally, pay close attention to how you receive your money. As of July 8th, 2026, IGES will no longer issue paper checks. You've got to select either direct deposit or a state-issued debit card.
And keeping with the theme of post-filing timelines, I want you to remember the number 14. When you eventually find new employment, and we really hope you do quickly, you have a crucial 14-day window to report your return to work. Failure to report your new job promptly will actually result in you receiving benefits you aren't entitled to, which creates overpayments that you're going to have to pay back.
Let's move to Section 5, Avoiding Mistakes and Troubleshooting. So the state of Illinois enforces some seriously strict penalties for unemployment fraud. And listen, fraud isn't just some shadowy criminal enterprise. It can be as simple as just failing to report part-time wages you earned while collecting benefits, or maybe falsifying your separation reason. The regulatory consequences for these actions are severe. We're talking anything from the immediate suspension of your benefits and mandatory restitution, all the way up to permanent disqualification, state and federal tax refund offsets, and yes, even criminal prosecution resulting in prison sentences. The takeaway here, always report any gross wages in the exact week they're earned. On a much brighter note, let's look at a quick case study of how IDES actually calculates your eligibility so you can troubleshoot any missing wages. They look at your past work, of course, but certain types of work are statutorily excluded from these calculations. For instance, if you work directly for a spouse or a parent, that family employment is entirely excluded. Similarly, domestic service, like working in a private home, is excluded if the employer paid you less than $1,000 in cash wages during a calendar quarter. Earnings from these specific scenarios simply won't count toward the threshold required to establish your benefits. Now, what happens if an adjudicator reviews your separation reason and actually denies your reopened claim? Well, you have rights. You have exactly 30 calendar days from the mailing date on your determination letter to file a formal appeal. This appeal goes straight to an administrative law judge, often called a referee, who will conduct a telephone hearing where you can present your case. And here's a huge tip. Remember to keep certifying for your bi-weekly benefits while your appeal is pending. That way you can be paid back retroactively if you win. Finally, Section 6, Essential Resources and Disclaimer. All right, get your pens ready because here are the numbers you need to save. For complex issues, you're going to call Claimant Services at 800-244-5631. For automated self-service, use Teleserve at 312-338-4337. And if you absolutely must visit an office, you have to schedule an appointment first by calling the hotline at 217-558-0401. And a super crucial warning here, the Postal Service does not forward IDES mail. Never rely on postal forwarding. If you move, you must call Claimant Services directly during business hours to report your address change so you don't miss any vital legal documents. Just as a quick professional reminder, this explainer is strictly for informational purposes to help you understand the source material. It doesn't constitute official legal advice. If you're facing complicated issues or need official guidance, we highly encourage you to contact an IDES expert or a qualified legal professional. And that brings us to the end. The IDES system is massive and frankly intimidating, but it runs on very specific, predictable rules. You now know the difference between an initial and an additional claim. You know the exact documents to have ready, the precise steps to reopen your file online, and the strict timelines you need to follow afterward to avoid those nasty penalties. So, now that you know the framework, are you ready to confidently take control of your unemployment claim? Thank you so much for learning with us today, and we wish you the absolute best in your reemployment journey.